This is Vibe Science, a top 100 wellness podcast presented by the Radcast Network, breaking wellness barriers and making health truly personal. Here are your hosts, Ryan Alford and Chris Hansen.
Hello, and welcome to Vibe Science. We're always taking you to our highest vibe. Look, it's about mind, body, energy, ultimately to reach your highest vibe. So today, Chris and I don't know if we look as good as this guy, but we both try to take care of our physiques. But Sid, I think, takes it to the extreme. He has some extreme habits that lead him towards success. We're looking forward to talking to him today. Is Sid Sriram. What's up, Sid?
Hey, man, it's great to be here.
Hey, man, whatever I got to do to get those abs, I'm in. You're looking good, brother. I appreciate the hustle. And I'm excited to talk with you. I know a lot of people see people that are bodybuilders that do those things, and I know how much work that takes. I've gone down the rabbit hole enough to know and train and do, and it's like shit's hard, man. You get after it, brother.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it a lot.
Chris, how are you today in Miami? You're looking like the movie star you are.
I'm good, brother. No complaints. Beautiful day down here. Sid's nearby. We're living the dream.
I know. Got that Florida weather. I appreciate Taylor Kavanaugh for making the recommendation. T-Cav, the good guy. We had him on. If you haven't listened to that episode, give it a shout. Lots of motivation and insights. Sid, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're all a few different things, living that Miami life. Yeah, South Florida life. What set the table for us? Who is Sid Sriram?
Yeah, so for those who don't know me, I'm Sid, 25 years old, based in Miami, Florida. My main line of business is I'm in the AI software industry. I run a company called Next Gen AI Solutions, where we develop AI software for a variety of different industries. Aside from that, I'm also a national level bodybuilder, and I compete in various bodybuilding competitions throughout the year. And I think maintaining a highly strict and regimented lifestyle is the key thing that allows me to maintain success in both the business world as well as an athlete at the same time. And we can talk more about it throughout this episode.
Yeah, man. A lot of correlation. People try to draw these hard lines and different things, but the discipline that it takes to build a company and the human body aren't always that different. The focus, the dedication, structure, habits, all that stuff. Sid, what my natural, questions go for someone like yourself is where did the inspiration come from? Always athletic, always into athlete, what's the legacy and where's the inspiration come from?
I think it's actually the complete opposite. I was definitely not always an athlete, definitely not always in great shape. Actually started out the complete opposite. And I think really going down to rock bottom in various areas of my life is what gave me the realization to change and turn things around. So I would say really that turning point came for me around 4 or 5 years ago, where I was in college at the time. I was heading down a really bad path in life in terms of drugs, vices, partying, women, just every negative vice that a man can go down. I was doing everything. And it was during that point in my life where I was working a 9-to-5 job. I had a girlfriend at the time, and I was in this comfort zone of living a typical corporate America life. And then eventually my bad habits caught up to me, and I had a spiral of negative things happen one after the other, where I ended up getting fired from the 9-to-5 job I was at because of my drug habits. My girlfriend at the time broke up with me. I ended up not being able to afford the bills and being homeless for a period of time. And all these three things happening at the same time kind of put me in a make or break moment where I was this is all my fault. And the only way I can turn things around is by changing everything. So I started going from like one side to the complete opposite and changing all my habits, replacing all the vices with like healthy food and lifting, replacing all the negatives I was putting in my brain with learning and education. And through that, I was able to make a complete 180 shift from like that lifestyle into one of like an athlete and entrepreneur instead.
When someone goes through a transformation like that, there's a lot of different points, I'm sure. It's never as clean as one day you're this and one day you're that. But talk to me about what were the largest hurdles in making that transformation?
I think the largest hurdle in making that transformation was the environment that I was in. So at the time when I mentioned all these things happening to me, I was also in a very negative environment at the same time, because all the people that I surrounded myself with were also down that negative path. So even if I in my mind wanted to change, the environment around me made that impossible. So at the time I was living in New Jersey, I was in a pretty shady part of the city, definitely not at all like where I live now. So I think the first step for me to even break out of that cycle was to completely change my surroundings. It was around that same time that I decided to move to Miami. And with what little savings I had at the time, which was around like $2,000, I pretty much just said, I'll just go all in at this point. I took whatever I had, got the cheapest apartment I could find in Miami, and then just switched things, switched my environment. And then once I switched from that hood environment that I was living in New Jersey to living in Miami, where there's a completely different surroundings. I'm constantly surrounded by like nature, by gyms everywhere, people living a healthy lifestyle. That was definitely the kickstart to turn things around for the better.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big change. And it's like some people, I think, struggle with making that big of a leap. But it's like, I don't know if you can transform the way you need to if you don't do something drastic. Like if you start doing all the right habits, but your environment is still sort of dragging you down, uh, I don't think you could put enough emphasis on the fact that you've got to make big moves if you really want to change. I mean, that sounds like part and parcel, like the most pinnacle moment for you is like that getting away from. I mean, they say 5 people you surround yourself, it defines kind of who you are in a lot of ways. But your environment, what you're around, you can't run from it, right?
Yeah, and like you mentioned, like you need a drastic change. And I tell people this all the time that in my opinion, the most dangerous drug in anyone's life, it isn't a substance, it's being in the comfort zone. Because the second you get comfortable, you think your life is completely fine, like nothing is going to go wrong, then there becomes no incentive to change. You become so used to that way of life that there's no motivation anymore to work hard. There's no motivation to strive to be better. So I try to purposely make my life as uncomfortable as possible so I never get trapped in that comfort mode of thinking again. Because that comfort mode of thinking is what led me down a bad path in the first place. So I never want to repeat that again.
Yeah. I mean, I can relate to that. you know, I feel like anything that's ever happened that was worthwhile, like as far as a change I wanted to make, I had something, drastic behind the change in environment, process, whatever it is, but it wasn't easy.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here reminiscing and, because part of me, it's like wherever you go, there you are. But the environment does play a huge factor as someone who's even, after I've, been sober, right, moved around to different places and felt the different vibes of different cities. And even me going from Tampa to Miami, and I was already healthy, but even being here, I got healthier because like Sid said, there's gyms everywhere. You've got the ocean, the sunlight. it's an active community for the most part, at least who I surround myself with down here. Right. And I, like him, even when I was in Tampa, Texas, I wasn't around as health conscious of people as much as I am now. So, I mean, that's a testament that even though I was doing good, you can still do better. And also the comfort zone. I'm a huge believer in that, bro. I mean, that's what I was talking about. The cold plunge is just that mental war you need to put yourself in to stay sharp. Because, I mean, we've all been there in these comfort zones, especially as I've worked my way up in the entrepreneurial world and you hit these milestones, right? And those are pivotal moments because you kind of hit your goal, which is great. But then part of you realize like, shit, there's more to be done, right? The void isn't filled. So it's almost where I've realized I thrive in the uncomfortability. Even with building companies, when I look back, it was always in the fucking trenches that I think fondly of, like the growth is in the work always.
Yeah, for sure. And I would think, and look, I live in South Carolina. I'm not in Miami, but I do think, and you guys, I'm hearing it from both of you in a little different ways, but like the standard within Miami, if you're around it, it doesn't mean I'm sure there's a lot of partying that happens too in South Beach and all that. But at the same time, I think you start to elevate your own standards when you see others that are obviously putting it in. And I think, whether it's surface level or not, there's a lot of people taking care of themselves in Miami. And look, it's a lot healthier to chase that standard than going down the rabbit hole of partying and everything else. And you can find that hole probably anywhere. But at the same time, I just think the standard around you starts to rise for yourself when you're seeing that. I think I'm hearing that from both of you. Does that sound right, Sid?
Yeah, man, like living here has been such a huge catalyst for change just because like I step out of my apartment and just go downstairs and immediately like the sun's shining. I live right by the water. There's like people walking around all the time. Everyone's got a smile on their face. It's like that's the kind of environment that you need to be in order to change, like by other people who are achieving even more than you.
Talk about some of your habits, Sid. I know that alarm clock goes off early, if my show notes are right. I think I yawned when I read that. But talk about some of the habits and some of your processes for change.
Sounds good. So, like I mentioned earlier, how I think like the comfort zone is someplace I never want to be. So I purposely structure my habits and daily routine around that, around like purposely doing things that make me uncomfortable, but at the same time facilitate growth. Like one thing that Chris mentioned is like a cold plunge. I don't do cold plunges, but I think they're a great tool. So like at least for my days, like first thing in the morning, I set my alarm for like 3:30. Reason 3:30 specifically is I've read and like many cultures believe that like 3:30 is the time when we're most aligned with our higher purpose. So that's why I chose this time specifically. And it's also, I enjoy this time because there's no one else is awake. I can get work done and do things at my own pace without my phone going off or any notifications. So I'll wake up. I normally start my day with just doing some push-ups just to like get some blood flowing. And then next thing in my morning routine is just do some reading. Just nothing crazy, just like a chapter of some book on self-development, just to get my mind in that right frame of thinking. After that, go into walking my dog, get some fresh air, go to the gym, get my daily workout in, and then usually I'm done with that whole routine by the time it's like 7, 8 in the morning. And then I'm in a great frame of mind to tackle on the rest of my workday. And I'll start taking work related calls around like 8 in the morning.
3:30. Yeah. What time do we go to bed to make the 3:30 wake up?
I find that my body operates the best around like 6 hours of sleep. So I try to get in bed by around like 9:30, 10 at night every night.
Yeah, that's good. is, was that as hard as it sounds to get in the routine of, or did it, like, once you did it, you kind of were in it?
I think literally you just have to do it once and your mind gets in that frame of thinking. Because it's like the second you set a standard for yourself, anything aside from that just becomes like going below your own standards. Like, take for example, if you ever get in great shape and then you find yourself going away from that, you look at pictures of yourself and you're like, anything below that is like going downhill. So similarly, when I woke up at 3:30 once, it's like that just became the new baseline for my life, that like every single day has to be at that same level or better.
What fuels you, man? Like, where now that I mean, it sounds like, and you see a lot of these transformations, like from A, you're running from A to get to B because you needed to. It's almost survival in a way. But now, like, not just habit, but like, what's like fueling all of that for you? Like, what's driving you? Is it now just becoming innate in you because you've done it? Or usually there's sort of a drive, a purpose, something that's behind a lot of it. Once you kind of overcome that, okay, I got to get away from here, from this point to this point. But then once you get there, to stay there and to continue to grow, there's usually some motivations behind it. What's sort of fueling you?
I think the innate driving force behind doing anything that I do when it comes to business, as an athlete, whatever, is just extreme competitiveness. At the end of the day, I'm not content with just being good at something. I want to be the very best at it. And anything less than that is just like a failure in my eyes. Like, when I go to a bodybuilding competition, if I get second place, I go home like sad, because I consider like second place as a failure. And it's just like that mentality of like either the best or nothing that keeps fueling me to push for loftier and loftier goals. And anytime I accomplish something that I have as a goal, it's like, that's not the end of the road. It's like, what's the next step upwards? And constantly looking for that next step up, because the joy is in climbing the mountain, not reaching the top.
Yeah. And it's interesting. It can be healthy and unhealthy, the first, second thing. But I respect it, because I don't know, man, if you don't want to win, I don't think you can be your best. Like, there's got to be this competitive spirit, I think, to reach some level of achievement. And it doesn't mean like you're, burning everything down if you don't win. I mean, but if you aren't, at some point in time, I'm not saying, and I'm look myself in the mirror, like, I don't do this enough, but like, we've gotten conditioned that with these, not to get too political, but the participation trophies and everything else, that, the good old competitive spirit is what sort of drives America, and, at least pushes you to want, because if you're not trying to win, whatever winning is, then you're settling, is I think what it sort of comes down to. Because who's going, man, I'm going to do all this work because that damn fourth place trophy looks awesome. Really? I mean, who says that? It's like, what are we doing here? I don't know. I don't know what you think about all that, Chris.
All I thought about was that's part of the Miami. I think, like, what pushes you, there's competition everywhere. And as a man, I think that's a good thing, right? There's dudes out here hustling, people, entrepreneurs hitting the gym. Like, there's people that are doing it all. Where I've seen in other places where I've lived, it's like, oh, you got the dude that's successful monetarily, but he's fat, right? And I'm not hating on fat people, but there's just a lot more people down here that are trying to piece it all together, chasing it all. And like Sid said, it's a compounding effect, even for your business. Like, you should be doing it. And I'm at the point now, it's like, if you don't have some type of fitness routine in your life, you're probably not going to have a relationship with me. Like business, definitely love, right? Friendship. You got to be kind of living in alignment with where I'm going.
Absolutely. Sid, I mean, how does that factor in who you surround yourself with?
Yeah, I do think, like Chris mentioned, like being here in Miami, there's just the level of competition is so much higher. And like I mentioned earlier, like my driving force is to be competitive. So that pushes me even harder when I go outside and I see people who are excelling even more than me in like fitness business. Because there's so many levels to this. Like even after getting like a six pack, whatever, there's like people doing that and like so much more. So what was your original question again?
I just say like who you surround yourself with, like knowing, you've got the competition, you're driven to do that, but you got to surround yourself with the right people too.
Yeah. And I think like my personal belief on that is that like once you level up yourself, you naturally attract people on like the similar wavelength to that. And I call it like the vibrational frequency. I don't know if you guys have ever seen like the vibrational frequency chart where it's like at the very bottom you have things like fear, guilt, and then like going up you have things like courage, confidence. And it's like as I see myself improve in various areas of my life, like I've naturally built a circle around me who like embody similar values. So with pretty much all the guys who I call my close friends, all of them are in great shape. All of them are business owners of some kind or another. And I think like as I've grown older and wiser, definitely that circle has shrunk over the years. But now it's definitely far more about like quality than quantity.
Yeah. Well, it's funny how that happens, but we've had people talk on our show about the vibrations, and I know Chris knows more about that than me, but I do think it's the law of attraction, all that stuff. Like if you're really paying attention, you can't ignore that stuff, how real it really is, because if suddenly people see you, whether you're at the gym, how you carrying yourself, it just attracts other people that are either trying to do the same thing, or maybe they're a level higher than you and they just respect it and they want to help you. And, it kind of on both ends, I think. And Chris, I know you're a believer in this stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's all vibration and frequency. And, I think as we get older, you just chase a lot less. And that's my mentality everywhere now is just, I'm attracting what's meant for me. I just need to maintain my frequency, my vibration, stay in a good mindset. And that brings the right people in, right? It's that simple to me now. Like I'm not trying to go out of my way to impress anybody, do my thing, take care of myself and what comes to me. And that's where even like, us connecting, right? It's like I connected with TCAV on Instagram last year because we saw some alignment. We were resonating with each other's messages. Then he connects me with you, right? It's like, it's a ripple effect.
Yeah, I'm huge on those vibrational frequencies. And I think Chris mentioned it briefly earlier is how like the world is as you are. So it's like if the only way you can change your environment or change your life as a whole is like by changing yourself. Like if you're a person who's in a bad mood, putting negative things, vices into your body, then your surroundings also become the same. Whereas if you're a person who's constantly seeking opportunity, putting out positive vibes and good energy into those you come across, then naturally the same comes back to you. I'm a big believer in like karma and how things always come back to you as you put out.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, this whole show's based on energy, vibe, and like that's what it is. And, you also pull energy from others, like and vice versa. Like if you're on those same wavelengths, it's like fuel. Literally, it is energy because we all just by nature, you have days where even if you've got the perfect habits, you might be lagging a little bit, headed a bad place. But when you're around those same people, you sort of lift each other up, or you lift them up, they lift you up. It's almost like it was intentional, you know, divine purpose.
Yeah, since I live in an apartment, I find it interesting because like I have random interactions with people on the elevator all the time where I like multiple times a day I'll have like be alone with some stranger who I've never met before in the elevator. And I find it I'm always observing like it's interesting how you can immediately tell like someone's vibe. Like sometimes people will come in and just like maybe it's like at 5 or 6 o'clock they come after tired after a day of work, immediately lower the vibrations of that elevator. Or it's like someone comes in with a big smile on their face and you're like, hey, how's your day going? It's like immediately uplifts like everyone's mood in that tiny confined elevator.
Yeah. I'm guilty of that too. Like I know, like if I'm tired or something, like, and I get like a public place, I'm like, I can feel myself like, I don't know, zapping the energy, like I'll try to like turn the switch, cause I'm like, damn, I'm dragging everybody down. Like just cause maybe nothing I'm saying, but just like, I can almost feel the look on my face. I don't know, like put a smile, baby. You got to put it on, even if you don't. I mean, it is that simple. Sometimes we try to overcomplicate things, but I think it just comes back to like this awareness, like self-awareness and awareness, and like just reminding yourself of the impact you can have on others and yourself with just these little tweaks in how you, I don't know, carry yourself, how you do, like I'll be walking sometimes and just pulling my shoulders back, not to walk like, gym guy, but like, cause I'll feel myself kind of sunset. I'm tall, I'm 6'5". Like I'm, naturally, the hunchback guy sometimes. And it's like, I don't know, just doing that one little thing, you kind of just perks you up.
Yeah, I think like one interesting thing you mentioned is how you sometimes you feel like you're sapping the energy, and it's like the fact that you can even recognize that tells me that you have a very high level of emotional intelligence and self-awareness, because most people they wouldn't even catch on the fact that they're doing that. They're just like repetitively living in that same state without even realizing it in themselves.
Yeah. I've I guess comes with old age, maybe for me, like trying to be more attuned to that stuff. Chris, any questions for Sid?
I don't know about a question, just to tag on what he just said. It kind of that awareness of your own thoughts.
Yeah.
Like getting control of where your thoughts are. And when you have those intrusive thoughts and realizing one, like you don't know where these thoughts come from, right? That's part of like catching these thought patterns. But I do the same thing in my elevator and even in the sauna, where you can tell, like, if someone comes in with a heavy energy, it's like, all right, well, someone's having a bad day today, But even myself, like I know, because sometimes like that's part of the reason I go to the gym, right? Is to get that mental reset. If I'm having like a slouch day or whatever, go jump in the plunge to get that reset. So it's like and like you said, it's the awareness of it, being aware of it. And then, okay, if I don't like this, what are the tools to change it?
Sid, are there any tools or practices or, I don't hate to go down the supplement train, but things that, I mean, I think looking at a guy like you, and people always get curious, like, like other than hard work and a great schedule, is there anything that are part of your sort of package of self-development?
Sure. I think like to continue on what we're discussing with the self-awareness, I think like everyone intuitively knows what they need to improve on, but maybe they're either unconfident or hesitant to actually take action on it. So like another one of my practices, which I haven't been doing every single day, but it's definitely helped me a lot, is like in the morning journaling on what I regret from the previous day. Because it's only in the bad moments and things we messed up that we actually gain the knowledge on what to improve on. So that's definitely been a key habit for me in terms of improving things. As far as general daily practices, I think just like on the health wise, just like meal prepping, taking care of all my nutrition is key.
Yeah, you got to be. How many calories a day are you carrying?
Right now, I'm pushing like maybe like 3,500.
Okay, that's not too crazy. You, what's your size? I mean, are you trying? What like your goals? Are you just trying to put on more muscle, more physique, like toning? What are your like fitness goals?
Yeah, so when I'm actively competing in bodybuilding shows, then I starve my calories a lot. So like my competition season this year was like July to like October. So then I go like super restrictive, like 1.5 to 2,000 per day. But like right now, since I'm in the off season, I'm just trying to put on a little bit of size. So I'm going a little bit higher, like 3,500, just like slowly put on size without like getting fat.
Is there one meal change that you made, that made the biggest difference in all? Like maybe something you ate, something you stopped eating?
I think I'm like a fat ass at heart, to be honest. I love eating like sweets and stuff.
You gain easy?
Yeah, I put on weight so quick. So I think the one thing that definitely helped is like replacing the negative things I was having before, like chocolates, cookies, whatever, with like fruit, yogurt, that kind of stuff helps a bit. Honey is awesome, like tastes hella good, and it's also like very healthy for you. Other than that, replacing like all drinks with water or like 0-calorie sodas.
Yeah, I know. Can't drink those calories. I had to learn that a long time ago. Oh, any final thoughts here, Chris?
Tap in with Sid, y'all.
Yeah. Where can everybody keep up with what you're doing, Sid?
Yeah, thanks.
Where can everybody keep up with you? Like social media, all those things, links?
Yeah, as far as following me online, I think the best platforms are either like Instagram or LinkedIn, where I'm most active. Instagram, my username is Sid X Sriram. And then on LinkedIn, you can just search my name, Sid Sriram.
Awesome. Sid, we like your energy. We appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your perspective.
Yeah, it was great being here, man.
Yeah, for sure. We'll have all the links to Sid's stuff in the show notes. You can reach us at vibescience.com. Have all the articles from all the episodes, all the sparks from each one. For Chris Broby Hansen in Miami, I'm Ryan Alford. We'll see you next time on Vibe Science. The content discussed on this show is provided for reference and educational purposes. The content is not an attempt to practice medicine or provide specific medical advice. Always consult your personal physician for medical advice and proper diagnosis.
Thanks for listening. This is Vibe Science. To learn more or watch full episodes, visit vibesciencepodcast.com. Here's to discovering your highest vibe.